Harvard Extension School for a big data project uh, and using AWS EMR and for solving the big data problems and deploy them in production successfully. And I wanted to do this project because we did a lot of lab work doing in Jupyter Notebook, and I always had a question: how would I deploy this code, and how would this production scale, and how it process millions of records. So I want to really try it out, and wanted to do this. And going to the next slide, explain more details about AWS EMR. Uh, AWS EMR is like a managed service by Amazon to scale clusters of machines on demand or on spot, and to differentiate between the storage and the compute. And here storage is not really is independent of the compute, and here you can use S3. EMR uses S3 as the main storage, and the storage is always there even the machines are shut down. So you can deploy your code, you have your data, and whenever you have data available, you can instantiate these machines, process your data, do your analysis, and terminate these machines. That is why Amazon built this EMR service to scale and to process millions of records and have more reliability and scalability built into it. And EMR has many big data analytics, and it uses S3 as a data lake, and you can use S3 as a data lake service, which is part of the big data problem. And both EMR as a compute service and S3 as a data lake service or a data storage service gives you the big data analytical platform. And that's why I wanted to do this. And EMR and SageMaker is one more service. And AWS EMR is like Elastic MapReduce, and it helps with the distributed computing, which both Spark and Hadoop are built for. And that's what we have learned over the last 5 months. And here you could see like how the EMR clusters, how the cost is distributed. On the orange is the on-demand machines, and blue is the on-spot machines, and they are off price. Like, so when you want to use spot machines, you could get more cost optimization to solve your business big data analytics problem. And I've seen big companies used this for COVID cancer cure, and they used AWS platforms. And here in this case I took a small problem, which is getting the Amazon book reviews from using Parquet as a file format. And Parquet has a lot of, it's an intelligent file, files, not file system, intelligent data format, where it has metadata of the rows of data which is stored and the columns, and what column has what minimum values, what maximum values, what average, and all that. Like, so it has it's much more intelligent data file format, and it can be processed really fast. And that's the reason I think Amazon does store a lot of its data in Parquet format, so you could process them immediately. And as part of EMR, we always worked in our labs, how are we going to set up our initialize our environment, download all the libraries, set up a Spark home. But when these machines are instantiated, we need to run this bootstrap code or the initialization code, and this code has to work. Then only the main big data code, which dependent on these libraries, is going to work. So setting up this environment is key, and figuring out which Spark Hadoop version works with these libraries, you have to do it as part of your development phase. And AWS EMR does offer a CLI version, command line interface version of executing this EMR cluster or creating this cluster, as well as there is an UI also available where you can create the cluster. But once you figure out that what is your cluster looks like, you can always instantiate the cluster from the CLI. And there are options, some of them I explained here. And the EMR 6.5.0 goes with a particular Hadoop and Spark version. And you need to make sure your bootstrap code works with this particular version. And you pick up a wrong version, and you end up spending more time on figuring out the bootstrap. And you can see what is the log where the log stored, and you can show the S3 bucket and the log folder, and where the bootstrap code is there. When your instance is instantiated, it can pick up that bootstrap code and initialize all your environment. And the step is where your actual ETL step, which code you want to run to transform your data, take the input data and transform to the output data. And that is the step you specify. You could specify 1 to n steps, and you can go through these different options, and as an example, like which would help you. And once the EMR cluster is created, it goes through many phases of execution. It starts creating the nodes, the master nodes and the task nodes, and then it starts bootstrapping them to initialize the environments. And now after the bootstrapping is done, it starts running your the ETL code, which is you wrote for the big data. And here I'll just show you an example. And this code is uploaded into the S3 bucket, and you could have step 1 different file, and you can have all your code placed here, version control or whatever, and execute that code. And I'm a sample of the code. Here I'm showing you have input Parquet files from the Amazon book reviews, and you have output writing into your own S3 bucket where the output is stored, and you're converting into a data frame the Parquet files, and on the data frame you're applying the filters and doing the group by average, and here I'm getting the reviews, number of reviews done on a book, and what are the average reviews are. And you could see that quickly is done under 1 minute. It processed about 10 GB of data, and you could see the book titles, how many reviews were done, and what is the average reviews. So all this code executed under a minute for a 10 GB of volume of data. And output is written into this output S3 bucket, where I specified with the output and the bucket name you can see here. And you can see the files when these files are all written. And I'm showing a sample of that file. I just showed you a small snippet before, but once you open the Parquet file of the output, you can see the book titles, how many average reviews are done, and what is the average review rating. So I'm just giving a sample of it, and like that it writes all the output. So you're crunching raw data and getting good statistical analysis out of it. And that's one of the small, and I could use this doing a production deployment, and I could learn all the features of how to use an EMR. And these are the references I've used for doing this small production deployment. And this is just a stepping, one of the initial steps. But I think doing this helped me to learn more how to deploy big data code into production environment. Thank you. Thanks for listening.